Hello, welcome back to Brave, Bold, Brilliant. I'm Jeanette, your host, entrepreneur, investor, multiple business owner. And you know what? Today, what I really want us to talk about is confidence. Now, here's the thing that I've come to know from my 30 plus years in business is that, often we look at people, we look at successful business leaders, we look at entrepreneurs, we look at people running large organizations, and they seem to have it all covered, don't they? They seem to be absolutely confident in their delivery, confident in what they're actually trying to achieve. But the reality is that actually every single person has moments of self-doubt, has moments of not feeling maybe good enough, of sense of, actually, I'm not sure if I can do this. But confidence is something that absolutely, I believe, is a skill that can be honed. And, through my career, I've had lots of times when I've not felt as confident as I actually wanted to be. So we're going to get into this. And I think also in today's world where we have social media, we have, so much press coverage, etc., that, we present a world, an image often outwardly that is not actually necessarily how we are feeling inwardly. So confidence, we're going to talk about this crisis in the modern leadership age, and actually how can you become more confident in yourself, take steps that's going to make you a bolder leader, but at the same time acknowledge that, we are human beings and we don't always naturally have confidence oozing from us at every single stage of our journey. So listen, if we are not connected on social media, let's get connected. Check out our pages on Brave, Bold, Brilliant. Also, you can find me on social media. You'll find, 2 N's, 2 T's in Jeanette. Let's get connected and let's really, help each other with our business journeys. So what I've learned over the years is that confidence is rarely a natural talent. It's something that is built. It's something that is created with practice, with actually repetition, and being really honest with who we are as a person. And it's interesting because actually when you talk to business leaders, successful people still battle with insecurity inside themselves. They might question themselves. They might still think, how am I getting on, or be worried about failing, etc. So, it is perfectly normal. If you are in that situation yourself, maybe you're running a team for the first time, maybe you've got a huge organization, a large corporate that you're running, and you're very much in the forefront every single day, but you might not always feel super confident. Well, that is okay. And what we're actually going to cover in today's episode is how can you hone your skills to be more confident, but in a way that keeps yourself true to the person that you are as well. And here's the thing, we are absolutely exposed every single day. When you look online, sometimes people appear super successful, very polished, very articulate. They come across exuding confidence. But over time, actually comparison can chip away at your confidence. So, we've got to be very careful in today's world of overly comparing ourselves to others, because you can really question yourself whether you're behind, maybe you're not coming across in the same way as other people that you see in the world around you. But, sometimes you can wonder whether everyone else has figured it out apart from you. So I don't know if you ever feel like that, but sometimes I do. And I think in social media, it's created this illusion, hasn't it? It's creating an illusion that everything is wonderful in the world and you have to be perfect to actually be a strong, credible leader. Well, I'm here to tell you that you absolutely don't have to be perfect at everything you're doing, but growing confidence is a skill that you can learn. So actually, how do you do it? How do you build confidence? Because uncertainty naturally creates insecurity. And let's be honest, in today's world of business, we have a lot of stuff that's moving around that can create an uncertain environment for us, both from a business point of view, personally, professionally. So, even experienced leaders are actually questioning themselves, especially with the pace of AI. You might be questioning yourself, am I moving fast enough? Am I ahead of technology? Am I building the right team and capability that we need? And when that uncertainty can arise, it often impacts our confidence in a negative way, and it can make us actually, drop down our confidence. So one of the biggest confidence killers that I see in leadership today is this whole concept of perfectionism. And the reality is perfect doesn't exist. I always say, as human beings, we are perfectly imperfect, every single one of us. And that's what makes us unique and different. So, often people are terrified, aren't they, of judgment, getting it wrong, terrified of judgment, fearful of failure. And so instead of actually taking action, they overthink, they wait, they hesitate, they get stuck. So I don't know if any of that actually resonates with you, but all of this is linked to the very important topic of confidence. So what I would absolutely encourage you to do is to first of all realize that perfectionism doesn't exist, that actually, you can be your authentic self with the flaws and everything that comes along with that, but at the same time, actually move forward with your business, with your professional life. Because the truth is, if you want to grow, you do need to be visible. Right, you do need to be visible both to your clients, to your customers, to the markets, to the stakeholders you have to manage, to your team, etc. So it's so important that actually you remain visible. And to be visible means confidently putting yourself out there in the world. So visibility, it does require vulnerability as well, right? It's quite ironic that, isn't it? The two V's. So every successful leader that you maybe admire, they make mistakes publicly. Every successful entrepreneur has failed at something. Every single person that got that very first promotion felt nervous and not quite ready for the job. Every confident speaker once felt nervous. In fact, when I go on a stage, I still feel nervous today. And I have done thousands of speeches, but I still feel like there's butterflies in my stomach, and every business leader will have doubted themselves at some point. So you are not alone, which is a great thing, isn't it? Because we are here to help. And, one thing I would say to you is at Brave, Bold, Brilliant, we are building a community of incredible business leaders that are all here to help support each other and grow together with confidence. So if you haven't already signed up to Brave, Bold, Brilliant community, just go to the website, www.brave-bold-brilliant.com, because there you're actually going to be able to join the community. You're going to get loads of free resources, which is really helpful either for yourself or for your teams. And certainly that is going to help you build your confidence. So confidence comes with action, right? Confidence doesn't come before you take action. Actually, by practicing and doing more, you will build your confidence over time. And that's the important thing. You don't have to be perfect to get going, but you do have to get going to be perfect or close to perfect. Now, as I say, perfect doesn't exist in my world. So however you're able to position yourself in the right way in order to grow your confidence, that's what we're aiming to achieve. But we're not looking for perfection, but you've got to get started and you have to take some action, because you become confident by doing the scary things, right? And when you realize that actually it's not as bad as you thought it was going to be, your confidence will grow. So, think about anything that you've ever become good at. The very first time you started something, you were probably not so good at it, but actually over time, with repetition, with more practice, you become good at your craft. And building confidence is the same thing. It's a muscle. It's like training in the gym, right? So you can build confidence by taking action. So at one point you were inexperienced, you were uncertain, you were uncomfortable, and that's absolutely fine. But repetition creates confidence, as I say. So true confidence, it doesn't need to dominate every room, right? But it doesn't need constant validation. It doesn't need to prove superiority. Ego can be very, very loud. Confidence is grounded, quietly confident, not being arrogant. And there is a difference in that. And I think some of the best leaders that I've ever met have not necessarily been the loudest people in the room. They've often been actually the ones that speak the less, but when they speak, They make a point and they land it very well, and people listen. They have gravitas, they have quiet confidence. And that is something that actually is a great way to think of this, because real confidence allows people to lead without ego driving it, without constantly having to prove, themselves really. So that's something I think modern leadership desperately needs more of. We need more authentic leadership, more emotionally intelligent leadership, more self awareness leadership. That's what we want, and not just about the performance. So I think people are becoming exhausted by leaders who just pretend to have all the answers, because we know that's not the case, right? So the reality is, you don't have all the answers. Your team don't have all the answers. But if you can confidently go into a meeting, go into maybe a client conversation that you're having, or maybe a conversation with your team, you're able to actually bring some certainty to that world, which allows you to be more confident. So here's the things. Actually, what can you do to be more confident? So the first thing that I'm going to take you through is just really ground yourself. All right. Ground yourself. So before you even go into a meeting, or maybe you're going to do a presentation, maybe you are actually putting a pitch to a potential new client, before you do that, just ground yourself, right? Take some deep breaths. Just absolutely think about, how can you build your own kind of calmness, your inner calmness. Remember, we're talking about being quietly confident. So ground yourself. That's point number one. Point number two, you have to remind yourself how good you are. And I don't mean that in an arrogant way. You have to remind yourself, actually, you've gained experience no matter what stage of your career you're at, but you are absolutely, you're there for a reason. So you have to have that positive self talk in your head. And actually, what I would say, even before you ground yourself going into any meeting, there's almost a step zero, which is really working on your own self belief. Whether that is through meditation, whether it's through yoga, whether it's through exercise, but actually, really working on your self belief, because self belief is your superpower. So, first of all, work on your own mindset. Secondly, ground yourself. Thirdly, realize that you are there for a reason. And then the fourth thing I would say is, prepare how you're going to tackle a particular situation. And if it's a speech, just remember your first line. Just remember your first line, because once you do that, you will actually be able to automatically get into your flow. If it's a meeting, prepare for that meeting, understand who your stakeholders are. So the preparation in advance will help you as well, build your confidence. And then the third, the other point I would say is just get going, because when you get going, actually, you'll find that you are far better than you think you were going to be. You build your confidence. And then after you've done all of that, review how it went, and do that in two ways. Do that with yourself. Reflect on, how did that meeting go? How did that speech go? So that you're able to say, okay, well, what went really well? Start with the positives first. What might I have done differently next time? And just really reflect on that. And then the other way to really review how you're getting on is to ask for feedback. Ask for feedback from people that were in the room, people that were in the audience, and then just keep going. Quite simply, just keep going. And, it's so important that you build your confidence as you progress by taking the action in the right ways. And honestly, those simple steps will really help you. And you know what? If things don't go well, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter, because you'll have learned something and you'll be saying, okay, I've learned something. I'll do it differently next time. So building confidence is absolutely critical in today's world of leadership. You have to be visible. You have to be authentically you, but also you don't have to be perfect. So that's what I would just say to you is, don't overthink it. Take massive action, get the feedback, surround yourself with the right people as well, who will support you on your journey, because that will also make a big difference. So I hope you have got something out of this conversation. I absolutely love helping people, scale up their confidence, scale up their business. That's why I work one to one with business leaders, with corporate execs, with entrepreneurs, so that actually I create a safe environment for us to talk about these situations and to be able to support business leaders as they grow, both themselves in terms of their leadership, but also in the impact they're having in the world of business that they actually operate in. So one-to-one mentoring, if that's something actually that you would be interested in, drop me a line. Happy to have a conversation, because it can be very lonely. Leadership can be very lonely. And as I say, surround yourself with the right people. Having the right people in your corner is absolutely critical, because that means that you're going to continue to grow with confidence, which is going to make you have more of an impact. So as I say, don't be alone. Connect. Remember, it is by being brave and bold that you're going to unlock your brilliant, but you don't have to do it alone. So let's leave it there for today. I look forward to seeing how you get on with your leadership journey. And if there's anything at all that I can help you with, my team can help you with, then please do reach out. As I say, if you're watching this on YouTube, then hit that subscribe button. If you're listening to this on the podcast, on iTunes or on Spotify, again, subscribe, because then you'll be notified every time we have an episode. And of course, please come and join our community, our Brave, Bold, Brilliant community. And check out the website, www.brave-bold-brilliant.com. And yes, just remember, you only have one life. Let's make it count. Let's go forth with great confidence. And remember, it is by being brave and bold that you will unlock your brilliant.